What is up, everybody? I'm Nova coming at you with another one. I just woke up, had breakfast. It's 2 p.m. Hard to believe it's so late in the day. Anyway, we're having a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been on a massive and stellar run, and the Bitcoin Pi indicator is indicating that within 3 days a top will be met. It has been right, was it 3 times before? It would have been 4 had we had enough going back to the previous top before this thing started counting, I believe. I never seem to remember. I'm always so foggy, but there's lots of videos to corroborate what I am talking about. Let's go auto. Yeah, it could have been this one here. Didn't count because we didn't have enough data. It caught this one in 2013. It caught this one in the end of 2013, and then it caught this massive consolidation up to this one just recently in 2017, if you can consider 2017 recently. And it has just caught this one here. Now, the only difference between the one that we're at now and the previous ones was the confluence of the 350 moving average multiplier. If you remember in previous videos, as we bring all these into play, this might be a multi-part series here. The SMA 21 called the top on that, plus the 350 would have caught that too, right? So there would have been confluence there. And then the next one, as we start to move down in volatility, caught the next one, which was the 13. And then the next one was caught after by the 8. And then the next one was caught by the 5. All of these are the Fibonacci sequence. And it's basically, as we follow this, we would assume that the SMA 3 would be catching the next top, right? As we start to move down in volatility. Now, Bitcoin is still volatile, but compared to the past, the percentages are much less. And we can see that we were testing this 1, 2, 3, and now we're just starting to fail underneath this. And we're now getting a top. So is this confirmation that we are at a top and now we're going to go to sleep for a while? And how long is this sleep going to be? In previous videos, we were guesstimating and assuming that we were getting a melange of 2 different cycles. The previous cycle would be an echo of the 2017 cycle, where we cross the 350 times 2. We try and find support. We do these 2 humps that's happening here. And then we do smaller ones before we pull back and go for a massive run on our last leg. But is that what's going to happen now? Hard to say, right? Anyways, we do have, this was the top. BLX is usually a day behind. So within 3 days, we would be near a top, and we did not get that crazy parabolic run. So could this be the top? So we're just going to look at some more data points to see if indeed this is the top, and we're going to see some sort of blow off or like a 50% correction or something before we go off into our next run. Will it be violent as we head up to 180,000? Or will this thing kind of jump the shark and go to sleep for a while? So because we are looking at April 2021 right now, we go back to the 2013 model, of what happened. And it could be, excuse me while I'm trying to drag this over, it could be that we may actually be right about here, and what we've seen happen was kind of this run here, and we could see a little bit of correction and boringness until somewhere in the summer, where we see that final run up to what we think is going to be 180,000. And the reason why I was thinking that was, oops, let me get rid of that. The reason why I was thinking that was, as I said in previous videos, every time the 1.618 crossed the 111, if we went from the top down, it was about 90%, right? We go to this top here and down to the cross, it was about 90%. And I mean, we can do the same thing over and over again. In previous videos, we did it again. But for those who are watching this for the first time, we go up to this top here and the cross of the 1618, and the 111 is right here, and it's about 90%. So if that's the case, we're using 3 indicators: the pi cycle top indicator, the SMA multiplier, and the cross of this bad boy right here. We can argue that the top is not here, because about 90% or so is around the 180 mark, 178 to around there. Now, as we get higher in prices, the percentages of 200,000 and 190,000 is much less compared to lower prices. So although we go up only 1%, the gap is thousands of dollars away from each other. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. Okay, while we try and run around all of this spaghetti, can we see if there is going to be a change? So we'll turn on our secondary indicators. Oops. And we will go over to BTC USDT for a more clear, up-to-date picture. And this is what's trading on Binance. We have this ascending triangle, and usually that's pretty good, because once we break out, this thing rides like a rocket. However, we do have divergence of momentum right here. We're seeing that momentum is dropping as we're getting higher and higher. And we did have a little bit of a punch, but now it looks like it's starting to roll over. This is on the daily. So as we zoom in, I'm just going to get rid of this for a second. Price is still above the 50, so that's pretty good. But it looks like this is starting to roll over a bit. So is the top here, and maybe this will be a quieter correction to bore people out. And will the next violent run go up because, and I'm only speculating here, because Coinbase has listed? There's been a lot of speculation on exchanges where they'll accept money and then they turn around and then they buy more Bitcoin to boost up the price. Is this a smart move? Will it drive people into buying even more Bitcoin, or is enough? So RSI is kind of difficult. Money flow index is kind of difficult to call a top. Maybe look for entries, right? When we hit an oversold section, we're pretty close to a bottom and then a bounce. Over here, pretty close to a bottom and then a bounce. Pretty close to a bottom and then a bounce. But you can see as we are bouncing, there's less movement. So I'm thinking Bitcoin's getting a little tired. Everyone else is saying we're getting ready to go flying. I'm just looking at what the data is telling me. When we go to weekly, we are about to do a cross, and it's the first time in quite some time. And the last time we did a cross, there was a major consolidation. Moving forward, a final capitulation. Lots of buyers down here looking left, and then we went off on our next run. Now, because this is Binance, we don't see far into the left, so let's go back to BLX and see what we saw in the past. Now, in order to do that, this indicator is going to get really messy. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go auto here. And because this does not, the indicators don't go auto, just the price, we've got to do this the old-fashioned way. And we're on weekly, okay? And we're looking at the APO crossing the signal, and then the MACD confirms with the red dot. Okay, so if we look left, pretty quiet, and then there's this massive run up, we have a cross, and it's pretty close. It's after the fact, right? It's after the fact stating that we should exit on the weekly. And if we go left to the next top, things quiet down comparatively. We have this run, and then we have the cross of the APO MACD followed by, we have a cross of the APO followed by the MACD and the red dot, and we're close to a top and things go to sleep. And then as we compress things and we're waiting for the next big move, this one was a little bit late coming, but you still would have made money, right? We see this jiggle here, this signal down to the 20, and then the 20-week breaks. APO crosses to the downside, MACD confirms, and then we go to sleep for a long time. Now we're going to compress this again, like so, and we keep looking left, and we have a massive move up. Now this ends up being a monster run because we do have the cross, but we find a bounce on the 20. Then we do have another cross, and we find a bounce on the 20. And then didn't quite have a cross. That was just the 1 week sell-off. And then this thing went berserk. And then we have a cross of the APO followed by the MACD and a breakdown under the 20. Are you seeing the pattern? And then things go to sleep. It challenges the 20. It just can't seem to close above the 20. And we even go into the red underneath. And then we do it again. We go up. Now, this was not a cycle top because we are lower, but the exact same thing. When the APO crossed the signal, followed by a MACD, and in this case, it was the MACD that crossed first. APO kind of had a last gasp and then came down. So that's why it was a little different from previous cycles. But this thing went to sleep again, right? So now we compress this even further, and we are here today. We are here today, folks. And what do we see? It's not confirmed, but MACD looks like it wants to cross. The APO has been running really hard, and I mean, technically, we've got a bit of divergence here, right, between where we're going, but it's not confirmed that it's curling down. The concern now is volume is dropping off. In fact, volume peaked off right about here, and now it's dropping off. So is volume going to keep dropping off, and then this thing goes to sleep? And if so, will it be reminiscent of 2013 and the April and December. So here we are in April. So now we got to start looking for some confirmations of if this does happen to pan out this way. What are we looking at for a correction? How long will it be? Well, if we work in weekly bars, we don't have to worry about trading sessions because a week is a week. And we do see, let me go to bars here. Did that work? I'll pull this to the side. This thing corrected up to about 75%. It would be difficult for us to confirm whether this is going to happen. But using the 20-week as a means of stepping out and watching the fireworks and then maybe aiming for the 50 might be an interesting play. Every time we go below the 50 or near the 50, a little impossible to predict, but that seems to be a nice place to watch for. Now here we went well below the 50, so that's kind of scary. We'll watch the daily for that. But right now, if we're looking at the 20, that's around 46,000, and the 50 is down around 30,000. If this is the top and it starts to grind down, eventually this will catch up and we'll start to see price levels that we should be watching for. But right now, disregard this because we're on weekly, but right now we're watching this to see if we are going to confirm a push to the downside. BLX for some reason does not let me run my RSI and MFI indicator. I'm not sure. If anyone knows anything about coding, feel free to let me know if you know why. If we go to, does it work on daily? No, it doesn't. BTC weekly. So a bit of divergence on the weekly too. Price is getting higher, but RSI is grinding down lower. I think we're going to go to sleep for a while, to be honest. The rule normally is APO and MACD stay above the zero cross, and that's just consolidation before we run off. Technically, this is still true if you look at the size of the cycle that we're playing with. But the gains that will be lost will be quite a bit. And that kind of worries of me if you want to lock in profits. So just something to think about. And this is kind of like an alarm bell for me. So I have a feeling pretty soon people will start seeing this and they'll start doing videos and talking about this divergence and the fact that we may actually be at a top and we will be consolidating for quite some time. And if we go to daily, let me close this because it's looking like spaghetti. When we use the GANFAN, we can kind of see where the angles of support are happening. And if we do see a breakdown, I'm thinking the 1/8 later on. And where is December? So December's somewhere. December starts right about here. And then this would possibly be the new top. And I don't know where we're going to be. I'm still guesstimating up around 180. So I wonder if we're going to come down and start challenging the 42 grand area. And the reason why I think that is, I'll drag this guy down here, right about there. So somewhere between 43.5 and 42 2.